to just talk about the intention of this event. Obviously, we all know why we're here. What I really want to bring into the forefront of everyone's minds, though, is what does the future look like when this revolution is over? Like, when we are done fighting, what does this revolution look like? What kind of world are our children going to grow up in? And so if we can really visualize and hold that in our hearts and in our minds today as we're marching and as we're chanting that we are doing this so that our children don't have to be afraid of the police, so that our children can call them once they are reformed and know that they can protect them from people that they truly have to fear. So we just really want to think about that. This is for the kids to be reminded that we are doing this for the purpose of unity, of coming together, of peace, of loving each other and taking care of our brothers and sisters and treating them the way that we want to be treated. The golden rule, it's super, super simple, right? Like, it doesn't have to be this complicated. We can take care of each other. And I'm grateful that all of you are here with that same idea in your hearts. So I don't want to devalue any anger or sadness or grief, because through anger, sadness, and grief is where you can be to bring forth real change. And so I recognize the grief and anger and sadness that we are all feeling for what is happening in our world. And let's use that to motivate us and to propel us into a better world where we don't have to do this anymore, right? So thank you all for being here. My name is Taffy, by the way, and I just live a few blocks away, so I was really happy to go out and canvass with my daughter, Cohen, and talk to our neighbors, like any of you that had signs in your window. I couldn't get to everyone, but I was really excited to be able to speak to my neighbors and get to know my neighbors. That's another thing that we're kind of missing in our modern day world, so I really encourage you to get to know your neighbors, especially the ones that have signs in their window, okay? Thank you guys for speaking out and not worrying about what the people, because I know there's a lot of people in this neighborhood that do not agree with this movement, and they're going to hear us today. We're going to make sure they hear us. We're here. We're not going anywhere. So my daughter, Cohen, just has something she wants to speak on, and yeah, I'm going to pass over the mic to her. Oh, actually, let's get Malik up here. Malik also has co-organized this event. Malik is an awesome black brother. He's 22 years old. He's a youth mentor at the Boys and Girls Club.
Give him a round of applause.
Yeah, I'll let you tell him more.
Hello, beautiful people. Thank you all for being out here. I'm seeing lots of different types of people, and that makes me really happy, because that shows me that you don't have to look like me to care about me. And so I just want to honor that. Give yourselves a round of applause for being here. So in this moment, I would like to take time to honor the lives of some beautiful black people who are no longer with us, because the color of their skin was used as a reason for their death. So I would just like to share that with you all here. And after I tell you their story, I would like us to speak their names 3 times, and then we'll go to the next story. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Cool. So the first person is Quanice Hayes, a 17-year-old black boy. He was killed on February 9th, 2017. And the murderer was Officer Andrew Hurst. What happened is that Hayes was named as a suspect of an armed robbery, even though the gun that was used in this armed robbery was fake, and Hayes was following police orders to crawl on the ground towards the officer so that he could feel safe in his arrest. As he's crawling, he was shot in the head and killed by Officer Hurst. And of course, the grand jury decided not to criminally charge him. So let's speak Quanice Hayes' name 3 times. Quanice Hayes. Quanice Hayes.
Say his name.
Quanice Hayes. Thank you. Patrick Kimmons, age 27, was murdered on September 30th, 2018 by Sergeant Gary Britt, Sergeant, and Officer Jeffrey Livingston. What happened is that Kimmons was shot 9 times in the back by these 2 officers as an attempt to break up a gunfight. Both officers were cleared of all charges. Say his name. Patrick Kimmons.
Say his name.
Patrick Kimmons. Say his name.
Patrick Kimmons.
Thank you. Keaton Otis, 25-year-old black man, murdered May 21st, 2010 by officers James Dufresne, Ryan Foote, Cody Byrne, Andrew Paulus, and Chris Burley. 5 officers murdered this one person. And the reason why is because he was driving his mom's car, and he was pulled over because he, and I quote, looked like he could be a gangster. Once he was pulled over, Otis was quickly surrounded by 4 other police cars. Portland police reported Otis fired first, but no evidence of that was ever found. Otis was shot 23 times. The officers involved still patrol the streets today. Say his name. Keaton Otis. Say his name. Keaton Otis. Say his name.
Keaton Otis.
Thank you. Kendra James, 21-year-old black woman. She was murdered on May 5th, 2003 by Officer Scott McAllister. James was in the car with 2 men when they were pulled over by Officer Rick Bean for passing a stop sign. Backup was called for help to detain and arrest the 2 men. James got in the front seat when Officer McAllister pointed his gun at her head. She tried to flee for her life, but was shot and killed on the spot. The officers pulled her lifeless body out of the car and handcuffed her, claiming she was pretending to be unconscious. They left her unattended while setting up a crime scene as she died. No criminal charges were held against Officer McAllister or any of the officers involved. Say her name. Kendra James.
Say her name.
Kendra James. Say her name.
Kendra James.
Thank you. Terrell Johnson, 24-year-old black man, murdered May 10th, 2017 by Officer Samson Agir. Johnson was struggling with mental health and addiction at the time that he was reported to be a crazy homeless person who chased a teenager off the Max platform. He had been turned away from getting the help he needed for alleged lack of space. That teenager returned to the platform with his father, wielding a kitchen knife for a confrontation, and then left freely. When confronted by a Westland officer, Johnson admitted to having a knife in his pocket, and backup was called immediately. Getting a call. Sorry, can't talk right now. Officer Agir arrived at the station, and sorry, give me 1 second. Officer Agir arrived at the station, and Johnson ran. Agir sprinted after him. He passed Johnson and cut him off. They're now standing face to face. Johnson allegedly swung his box cutter at him, when he fired 4 shots at this mentally unstable and chemically dependent young man, killing him. Officer Agir at first claimed to have tripped and fired his gun on accident 4 times, but then later confessed he was afraid for his life and the shooting was intentional. Alicia Johnson, the mother of Terrell, tried to file a lawsuit, but her lawyers couldn't come up with enough evidence. Her fight continues. Say his name, Terrell Johnson. Say his name, Terrell Johnson. Say his name, Terrell Johnson. Thank you. Andre Gladen, 36-year-old black man, was murdered January 26th, 2019 by Officer Consider Vosu. Gladen was schizophrenic and legally blind. He arrived at the steps of Desmond Pescaya's house, barefoot in a hospital gown, saying, "Someone is trying to kill him." Pescaya allegedly offered Gladen money for the bus. When he refused to leave, Pescaya called the police. When police arrived, Gladen ran past Pescaya through his front door. Officer Vosu pursued him and tried to handcuff him. When he resisted, Officer Vosu tased him and shot him 3 times. Vosu claims he saw Gladen holding a knife and had no other choice but to shoot him 3 times. Say his name. Andre Gladen.
Say his name.
Andre Gladen. Say his name. Andre Gladen. Thank you. And those are the stories that I have to share with you, and I would just like to add one thing that I feel is very important. If you see that someone is in danger, do not walk away. Do not hope that the worst will not happen. Do whatever you can to protect your fellow human. If they look different, they're still human. We all bleed. We all have mothers, fathers, children, friends, lovers. We all are human. So let's protect each other as if that were the case. Thank you.
Thank you, Malik. I just want to, I'm not sure if you mentioned this or if you guys heard this, but all the people that he just talked about were from Portland. That was our Portland police. I'm sure a lot of you know that, but I'm sure a lot of you didn't. So, yeah, in our backyards. Next, Cohen is going to quickly talk about a few young people that are not here to speak for themselves today.
Thank you. I'm going to talk about 5 different people in the younger community who lost their lives to police brutality. The first one is Samuel Mallard. He was a black man who was 19 and shot recently on January 16, 2020 in Powder Springs. He was shot by 4 CCPD officers who fired their weapons at him. And none of the police officers got charged. Say his name, Samuel Mallard.
Samuel Mallard.
Say his name, Samuel Mallard.
Say his name.
Samuel Mallard.
On November 2014, Tamir Rice was a black 12-year-old boy in Ohio. He was shot and killed by police officer Timothy Lohman, and the reason was because he was holding a toy gun. Say his name, Tamir Rice.
Tamir Rice.
Say his name.
Tamir Rice.
Say his name.
Tamir Rice.
Antoine Rose Jr. was a 17-year-old black man who was shot in Pittsburgh on June 19, 2018 by police officer Michael Rosefield. Antoine was unarmed and Michael Rosefield was charged with murder. Say his name, Antoine Rose.
Antoine Rose.
Say his name.
Antoine Rose.
Say his name.
Antoine Rose.
Clifford Glover was a 10-year-old black boy who was shot by an undercover cop, Thompson Shea on April 28, 1973. His death later caused riots in Queens, New York, and Thompson was charged with murder. Say his name, Clifford Glover.
Clifford Glover. Say his name.
Clifford
Glover.
Say his name.
Clifford Glover.
On December 23, 2014, Antonio Martin, a black 18-year-old man, was shot by Berkeley, Missouri police officer, and it sparked protests all over St. Louisiana area. Say his name, Antonio Martin.
Antonio Martin.
Say his name,
Antonio Martin.
Say his name.
Antonio Martin. Thank you so much. We're here to stand for the youth, and I'm going to proceed with Quincy, and she's going to talk. Thank you.
I just want to say one more thing is just one of the intentions for today was to keep this safe for those of you concerned with COVID and to please remember social distancing practices. If the group didn't come here with you, just respect everyone's personal space and try to give 6 feet apart. So thank you so much.
Hi everybody, my name is Quincy Boyd. I just got promoted from the 8th grade from Da Vinci Arts Middle School. That I got to go to school with these lovely human beings over here. And yeah, so today I'm just gonna kind of talk about some things I want to touch on, and seeing everything going on in our world, I feel like that we all need safe places like this to come to and have our voices be heard. So this is a quote by James Baldwin. If you don't know him, you should probably educate yourselves. He's a great man. It is, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced." Now, everything that's going on, I feel like it all depends on your perception of things. But to me, and I'm sure others, things getting better for the black community in America is a myth. Nothing really seems to be getting any better for those a part of this community. And things that we're discussing in these protests and that we're seeing all over the media are things like famous figures back then, like Harry Belafonte, James Baldwin, Tupac even, were all talking about, and it seems like everything they were saying is things that we're saying now, word for word almost. I feel like the systems in our country are designed to work against us, meaning institutional or systemic racism. And being biracial in America can kind of go good and badly for me at times. I have more privileges than my darker brothers and sisters do, but I'm also not, I'm not white enough to be a part of, the white community or whatever, but I'm also a part of the black community, but I still have the ancestry of both sides, so it's kind of weird to be brought up like that sometimes because I have to have tough conversations with both sides of my family, and I'm really honored and blessed to have very intelligent, smart people that have gone through things in my family that know how to educate me about these things, and that's what I feel that everyone should have access to. We need to start talking about racism and injustices that happen to people in this country because nothing seems to be getting any better. Everything is kind of going the same route it's been going for many years. And this is history in the making. We're living during this movement, and it's not a moment, it is a movement. And I feel like we need to start talking about these things in schools more and at home more, and just really educate your kids and other family members that may not be educated enough on these topics, because it is really important, and we need to start bringing these topics and discussions to workplaces or like in colleges in the future, or when you do start your career, so that if you do see injustice in any place, then you will have a voice and you can educate people to make a difference. So thank you. Paris, everybody. Okay. Hi.
Hi.
My name is Delia Bolter.
And my name is Paris Fridas. And my name is Paris Privos.
We attend Da Vinci Arts Middle School, and we're going into the 8th grade. Before we start presenting our speech, I just wanted to say that we made this speech together, and we'd like for you to listen to our opinion on what is happening in this time of day in our world. And we're just going to bring out some stereotypes in the cool little speech. Okay, hello. I wrote like 2 pages of this. Okay. These feelings inside us they just don't go away. They stay, and we cope with them like every single day. So it's just hard for us to just think about going to school and stuff. Think about going to school and having to worry about what people think of us because of the color of our skin. They come from fear and aggression amongst our peers and the people who don't look like us, who don't dress like us, and not even have the same mindset as us. And at the end of the day, we all know that if the tables were turned and we treated them like how they treated us, there wouldn't even be any protesting or riots, because there would immediately be a change and there wouldn't be a discussion about it. This world is so despicable, and we have to go out every day having to worry about our sisters and brothers' safety and watching out for our surroundings, looking in every direction in case of a terrifying moment. Not only is this world despicable, it's cold, and it's very cold. And nothing in this world brings warmth to black teenagers at all, besides another black teenager. Someone we can relate to, someone who might think like us, and someone who looks like us. A wise person once told me hating someone for their skin color is like hating a certain color of Skittles. All Skittles are the same flavor, they just don't look like it. Meaning that every person in America is a person, no matter how similar or different they may be. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a story about what happens to me at school in my class. So in a room full of white people, I was the only black person in 5th period, and they would make jokes like, ooh, he said or she said the N-word, and to see if I would get upset or just pop off, something like that. And then you know what I would do? I would get upset, because saying things like that, you need to think before you say something like that, because you don't know how much it will hurt somebody. And it's like, it was really hard because there was nobody in there who knew how I felt because of the color of my skin, so I just sat there quiet. Fighting for equality and protesting shouldn't be a thing happening in 2020. Our people have been fighting for ages and years, and we have yet to get justice. And who's helping us? It's the people versus the government. It's the people versus the upper class. And in my opinion, I don't think our president is making it any better for black teenagers or black people to have equal rights. And I just want this to get into everybody's head, that we're not doing this for no reason. There's a purpose that goes into everybody's doings. Our parents are doing this so we, black teenagers and black young adults, won't have to still go through this when we have kids or when we become adults. Okay, so let's talk about names. We've been called these names like really ghetto names. Like, let's just say Sharkeisha. What is that? What is it? I don't know what that word is. you still don't know our names, but you steady call us these names none of us have been ever called before, and for ages. And you can't handle being called Karen for only 10 months. That doesn't make any sense to me, because it's not that serious, okay? So, and I just want to give thanks to Dalia and my friends and my mom and my friend's mom and Taffy and Cullen for having this thing going on, this movement. And I would just like to give thanks to Hakeem Muhammad for being the best teacher at Da Vinci that there could be, and for not even only being a teacher, for being our mentor. At our school isn't very diverse. At our school, we only have one black teacher, and that is an African German teacher, and that is Hakeem Muhammad. So that's why I wanted to give thanks to him. And in conclusion, I just wanted to say that nothing comes easy, and nothing will ever come easy. And these are just two people's opinions, and you don't have to like what we have to say, but you just have to respect it. And the people who are supposed to be protecting us, no matter what our skin color is, no matter who our parents are, no matter what our different backgrounds we all come from, they're killing us. Killing us because of assumptions, killing us because of what our skin color looks like. And this has to stop, and it will when everybody opens their eyes. Thank you. Thank you.
So my name is Rochelle Dixon. Some of you might know me as the Vice Chair of Multnomah County Democrats. I'm also with the NAACP, and I'm starting up the new Black Lives Matter chapter for Portland, so I'm really excited about that. I hope you show up for that. I want to say that in my years in politics, I've been mostly disappointed about the changes that I've been able to make. And I'm disappointed in myself. I'm disappointed in the community at times. But this past month, Portland has made me so proud.
Yeah!
And from my office building, I saw a bunch of marchers, and they were all white. And at first I was suspect. I said, oh, wait a minute, what is going on here? I don't know what's going on. And then I realized, oh, they're actually just showing up for this issue. And I'm like, yay! So, I want to commend you for showing up, because it's not always easy to show up. We know that you have relatives right now that are talking to you saying, what is all this that you're doing? Go home, sit down. You know, this is unnecessary. There's been enough change. There hasn't been enough change. I myself, I have a t-shirt that says, I survived the Portland police. I actually did. They hit my car the day I was viewing my mother's body because we were driving suspiciously. What we were trying to do was not die, because after you have witnessed a body of someone you love, it's very difficult to pay attention to the road because you have so many emotions. And unfortunately, that's not the first time I've had a run-in with the police, because I don't hear very well. And so oftentimes, if they say something to me and I don't understand them, I must be drunk. And I've had 7-year operations to avoid the police. There's no more I can have, so I'm done now. I got bilateral hearing aids now, so I'm done with that. But there are all kinds of people who are subject to police brutality, and black people are at the top of the list. And you try being black and deaf and see what happens to you. So I want to commend you for showing up. There is just so much wrong with this system. I'm glad you've had an opportunity to see it. It's been here 100 years. It's not going away anytime soon. So when you're tired, rest. Please don't give up. Just rest. This work will be here when you stop being tired, when you feel refreshed. Work at it in different capacities. Maybe marching isn't your thing. Maybe letter writing is your thing. All of those things are valid. I'm fogging up here with this mask. All of these things are valid. So continue to fight for progress. We've made more progress in the last 2 weeks than we have my entire lifetime.
Yeah!
I have been begging for the school to prison pipeline to go away. And the resource officers have been part of the problem. They're gone. That's all due to you. One person can't make it happen. So give yourself a pat on the back. This might be the only time I ever say give yourself a pat on the back, but I want to see you do it. Actually, there you go. Keep it up. And I'm going to give the mic back to her because I can be all day singing your praises for making this happen, for cutting the police budget. It wasn't happening until you said something. So thank you, and keep it up. If you get tired, rest. Don't quit. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rochelle. Okay, we have one more person whose name is Libra. They have been sharing some incredible, what would you say, analogies online that I've been watching, and I'm so grateful that Libra was able to come speak to you all today. And then when Libra's done, we are going to head off in March and do the thing. Okay? Thanks.
Always have to be adjusted as part of my life. Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Libra Ford. I'm actually the Chief Operating Officer for a place called Self-Enhancement. I'm also on the North Clackamas School Board, the first black person ever to be on that school board. Super excited to have that role. A little sad that I'm the first, but that's okay. Sometimes you have to be the first. So I think it's a beautiful thing that we're all here and gathered, and in lots of places people have been gathering and just doing wonderful things that we've heard. But before I say anything, my heart, my care, my honor goes to the children that have spoken up, because we have to honor them first and foremost. So now that I'm here and we're here, I'd like to say something to the adults, because I honestly feel like kids get it. I don't think that we have a kid problem in America. I think we have an adult problem. And so with that being said, a lot of times kids take things really literal, right? If you show them a ball and you want to teach them baseball or any type of game, you say, keep your eye on the ball. Many of them will take the ball and put it right to their face, right? And just hold it. And then we'll laugh and we'll explain to them how keeping their eye on the ball doesn't mean that. It means something else. And that concept of taking a child and telling them what they're doing is not what you meant, but you meant something different, is the concept that actually is rooting systematic racism. That is how we teach children to not believe what they see, what they believe. And so I want us to all think about, how can we re-see the world? Because right now, everyone's asking for change. We all want something different, but a lot of the different is just some of the same. A little bit twisted, but it's just some of the same. And to really, really see a world in the future where these children can walk in this world differently, in comfort, in honor, and confidence, we have to completely shift things. The way we see, the way we do, the way we hear, everything has to be shifted. And I'm gonna tell y'all, be careful what you're listening to. Because a lot of people are feeding you things that sound good, but we need boldness. We don't need a little change. We need boldness. And boldness means that it's gonna look how you've never seen it before. And that means that everybody's gonna be uncomfortable, not just some. Everybody has to be uncomfortable. So if you're not ready for that, I need for you to sit down sometime today, or maybe while you're walking, and think, am I really ready to be uncomfortable? Like for 400 years how black people have been uncomfortable. Am I really ready to not sit in a place of comfort? Because that's the only change that will help our future walk this earth safe, confident, and with care. And if you do not believe that, if you do not believe in being uncomfortable, all of us, then you are wasting your time. If after COVID, when this pandemic is done, this fades away into the darkness for you, then you are full of it. This has to be a bold change. So when someone says, hey, keep your eye on the ball, and a kid does that, you have to allow them to keep doing that, because that's what they see. You can't change it for them. You can't make them see another way. Let them lead us to victory, because what they see is the answer. Yeah. What we see is the damage. Woo! And we're trying to fix from a damaged eye. And so I'm telling you, you have to allow yourself to see differently. As you walk, reflect. Think about how you look at things and everything in your life. And how can you get a little uncomfortable so they can be more comfortable? Thank you.
Woo! Yeah. I also wanted to say, if any of you are not from the Lents neighborhood, I want to offer myself to help organize these events in your neighborhood, because we need to spread out all over Portland. This is not just a downtown thing. This is not Revolution Hall thing. We need to be everywhere, and everyone needs to hear what we have to say. So just please contact me, and I would be happy to come march where you live. All right. So we're gonna go down 104.
The sun firing up my back, igniting my loosened soul. I would break my chained restraints and forget all of my problems, touching the clouds as I went. If I were a bird, I would use my wings and fly, just to know what freedom isn't allowed.
Thank you. I am a dance instructor and a teacher, and I've been doing that for now 18 years of my life, because I started while I was in high school, so I'm very proud of that. So I teach at different high schools and middle schools and elementary schools. I teach at Portland State, or I did for 8 years. And so I only say that to bring up the fact that I have access to a lot of the people in this community, and I get a chance to see how it changes generation to generation. And there is nothing more disheartening than seeing hate in a child. And so because I'm able to teach them from elementary school to college and to adult, I can see when they get the hate, and then when that is fed and when that becomes who they are. There's this amazing thing that we have as when you have access to people, you can change someone's life. You can change the trajectory of their life with information and with love and with care. And the way that I have been targeted in my life as being a black queer man, I'll say that again, of being a black queer man, has made me stronger than I should have to be. And I take pride in that, while also mourning the fact that I had to be groomed from the time that I was so young to be so strong. And my hope is that all of the children that I continue to have access to, that their lives become easier and that they get more confidence younger, that they get more information so that they can learn to love before they learn to hate. And as teachers, as I see other teachers out here, we can't do that if you don't give them that information and that love at home. We can't do that in high school and in college if you haven't done that in your home. So my hope is that with this movement, you have access to more information that you ever have. You have more people motivating you to find out more information so you can pass that to more people. And my husband and I, we're a part of a queer cabaret that went to all different red states, going to different parts of Idaho, Utah, Wyoming, Alaska. And And so we can go into these red states, to these small places, and we put the target on our back so so the people in those communities can feel more safe. So we take that heat on to say, hey, look at us, laugh at these freaks, come at us. Come at us, we can take it so that the other people in that community don't have to. Thank you. There's all this different work. We were on America's Got Talent a couple years ago. We had to fight with one of the judges because they were misgendering someone because they were questioning our worth, and had to sit there and argue with someone on TV just for them to see us as people. I wrote something. We shouldn't have to do that, absolutely. I wrote something recently, and it says that peace is very, very rarely given. It has to be fought for. And the way that we're doing that right now is coming together and protesting and voting. You have to vote, you have to write in, you have to call in, you have to hold them accountable and say that we will not let it happen any further. And each time I'm walking down of another day of protesting, when my voice gets tired and I don't want to scream anymore, it is so heartwarming to know that I have all these voices around me of people that don't look like me, that are starting to stand up and start to use their voice so that I can rest mine. So I ask you to continue to lift up your voices for the voiceless. We need you out here in these streets every day doing the work because we have been doing it and we are tired, but we will not give up. We are strong enough to keep going and we will, but we need your support. So please come out, support, vote, love one another. Everyone is going through a struggle that you know nothing about. So be compassionate, be kind, listen, and we will continue to do better.
Thank you, Isaiah. Thank you for coming out here and representing the Black queer community. They need a voice too. Okay, all right, so we have one more person. Tech. Okay, we're gonna hear Naima. She's an amazing poet, and I'll let her tell you all a little bit more about herself. Naima Lacy.
Hi everyone, my name is Naima Lightseed. I am a poet, multidisciplinary artist, and healer. Here in Portland. Oh, and I get rain protection. It's my day. And I really appreciated when Libra shared earlier about the trusting the children's imagination, and we are capable of creating what we believe. And there's this play on the idea of seeing is believing and believing is seeing, and so much of the genocide that indigenous cultures have experienced for hundreds of years now is a crushing of the imagination, the ideas of what's possible, and placing people into roles to make us into producers, capital, so that the structures that funnel a lot of the resources, most of the resources, to just a few people can be reified. We understand this. And as we are writing our letters and going on our marches and learning how to transform our own internalized white supremacism and our own internalized commodification, where we are convinced that we are only worth what we produce, and our own internalized disconnection from place, because most of us are not living on the lands that our ancestors lived on. As we continue to transmute those, I feel like an equal essential aspect of this work is, what am I believing is possible for myself, for my children, for my community? What am I choosing to say and think and do? And all of the very necessary chanting and marching and letter writing is only going to change the collective consciousness if we also believe it inside of ourselves. So the invitation is to really, like, more of a poet, not used to speeches, so like, all right, there's a whole format here that I get to learn. The more that we can do that work together, you know, internal work without external expression doesn't serve the collective. External work without internal transformation is hollow and will ultimately be self-defeating. So the invitation is to keep going back. How am I quietly, in my own subtle ways, judging myself as a Black female identified person? It's so easy for me to think I'm too fat because I don't fit the European models of what is attractive, to think I'm lazy because I'm tired, all of these conditionings. And so that's my work from the inside out. And then the work for people who come from places of privilege is to notice all those times it might not even get all the way to conscious thought, but there's still, oh, I'm not safe because I see a Black person, or oh, that person must be lazy because they're not working and they're a different race than I. Like all of those little things that, given militarization, turn into killing people. But there's so many ways that we kill each other and our own selves on a small level every day. So how do we reimagine who we are, where we are, the relationship between our bodies and this planet, and our relationship to each other? Do I have like 2 more minutes? I do want to share a poem if I can do it. Okay. So I have found the way that I transmute my experience is through art, primarily through words. And so this poem kind of says what I just said, but shorter. It's called Map. Following the clues on this modern day quest, a new way of putting our faith to the test, following my heart to find a part in this epic play of life reset. And it's not quite like back in the day, no apparent dragon in need of a good slay. It's time we lay our notions aside. The lie, an economy built on slavery. The journey to set each other and ourselves free, and I recognize it starts with me. I can't just walk on concrete to reach the mountain caves. I've learned that dragons are my allies, and all my friends are witches. Rainbows rarely start on flat ground or end without a storm, or maybe that's the other way around. And so I climb, swim, fly to seek my pot of gold, which is not just green and once found can never be sold. Following the clues on this modern day quest is a new way of listening, a different kind of treasured chest awaiting. The map is not just tattered yellow paper, not a document of ownership, but a diagram of our diaphragms, how to breathe through our bodies, how to heal with our words and our hands. The little birdie still tells us where to go, how to flow, but now they're 5'4" in platform boots and dayglow fur, and the guardian of the threshold is checking IDs, and the dragons we can see are painted on our tapestries, or tattooed on our bodies, or written on the signs that we wave in the air, but still, we are in the magic land, the magic now, and we must know when to wield our swords, when to sweep ourselves, when to humble ourselves in the holy places. We must understand the measure. We are the treasure we seek. We must understand the measure. We are the treasure we seek. If we are ever going to find it, ask why it was hidden in the first place. This race with a new pace can only lead us away from or back to home. And our folly as we hide from or chase what could only ever be inside us. Following. It's the quest that defines us. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Naima. Okay, everybody. So thank you for being out here, rain or shine. Police brutality doesn't stop when it's raining. Hold on, today. Police brutality doesn't stop because it's raining. Right.